Hey, everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
You're listening to the Sportsman's Nation Podcast Network, brought to you by Lacrosse Boots. If you guys haven't checked out the new Navigator series from Lacrosse, I strongly suggest you do that. Two really good boots within that Navigator series, the Windrose and the Atlas. If you want to find out more information about all of the boots that Lacrosse offers, visit their website, lacrossefootwear.com. You won't regret it.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and I'm the host of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I'll also be your host into the world of hunting the icon of North American wilderness, the bear. We'll talk about tactics, gear, conservation, but we'll also bring you into some of the wildest country on the planet chasing bear. Last week, Brent Reaves and I went to Greensburg, Kansas to hunt pheasants. We didn't take shotguns, but we took the traditional bow and a camera. This podcast is about what we learned while traditional bow hunting pheasants over German short-hair pointers. We talk about the gear failure. We talk about the difficulty. We talk about the fun. We talk about pointing dogs. And so this is kind of a off-topic podcast, but it's a lot of fun. And you can check out our video on the Bear Hunting Magazine YouTube channel. We just released a 3-minute video that I am quite certain is going to burn up the internet. And you'll get to watch me miss a lot. And I will not tell you if I hit one. The whole point of all this is... we were just looking to have some fun over some good pointing dogs and do some non-traditional wing shooting. So check that out. Also, we're continuing this week on our giveaway. And the way to be qualified for the giveaway, and this week it's for Northwoods Bear Products. We'll send you some variety, some type of Northwoods Bear Products, just one person per week. If you leave a comment on iTunes, take a screenshot of the comment, and communicate that back to us through Instagram private message, Facebook private message, or email at info@bear-hunting.com. So leave a review and a comment of the podcast, and all of a sudden you'll be in the running for this week. That's going to be getting some Northwoods Bear Products as we gear up and start thinking about spring bear hunting. You're going to enjoy this podcast with me and my buddy Brent Reaves. We are in Wichita, Kansas, and I'm with my buddy Brent Reaves, and we're doing something that we typically find ourselves doing this time of year, which is looking for something to hunt.
Exactly.
That is different. That is maybe not different, but you know, we've come through the fall hunting seasons, and it's still deer season in Arkansas.
Yep. duck season?
It's duck season in Arkansas, but there's no ducks in Arkansas.
Not to amount to anything.
And we can still do a little bit of deer hunting and probably will. Our deer season lasts through, this is a leap year, so it lasts through February the 29th.
Yeah.
But this is the time when we're doing really turning our attention to small game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I've got some squirrel hunting plans in the near future.
Well, this is the time last year when we squirrel hunted on mules with Trey Autry and Michael Lanier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we did, though, this year is we came to Kansas for one day to hunt pheasants. And not just pheasant hunting, but we were hunting with a traditional bow.
Yeah.
And Brent was here with me. Brent was filming. And I had seen in different places where guys were hunting pheasants with trad bows, and I had no idea, Brent, if I could hit one or not.
I remember a month ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, when you called me and said, "Hey, man, you think you'd be up for a trip to Kansas to shoot some pheasants?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in." And you said, "Well, I'm going to do it with my bow." And I said, "What has possessed you to want to do that?" Because when you said go to Kansas and pheasant hunt, I thought, well, we're going to shoot some birds with shotguns. That's what
Right.
I mean, who wouldn't think that?
Right.
So I was taken aback, but I dig it, man. I understand.
Well, the
allure.
genesis of it was that I saw a guy on social media, a guy that I know, that had just a bunch of quail. They went on a quail hunt in Missouri, and he'd quail hunted, and man, it's been so long since I've been on a good quail hunt. I asked him where he went, and he went to some place up in Missouri, and they were pen raised birds that they put out for him.
Right.
And nothing in any way against that. I've been on those kind of hunts, but I really wanted a wild bird hunt.
Yeah.
That's what was in my mind. And then I started. I saw something on YouTube where a guy shot a pheasant with a traditional bow, and I just thought, well, man, what if we pheasant hunted, and to up the game, we're gonna use a trad bow, and I had no idea if I could hit one, but now I do, because we went over here for a day, and we were here for a day, and what I said was, I believe if I have 20 shots at pheasants, I believe I could hit one. That is what I said. I had no basis for that, other than that. I'm just a decent traditional archer, but I feel like I've shot enough that I have shot at some moving targets and stuff that I just felt like I could hit them.
Yeah.
And
you even talked to the outfitter and said, you know what, when you were setting it up, what's the chances of getting, how many shots do you think I could get during the day? And you came up with the number, if I could get 20 shots, I think I can do this.
Right.
And it seemed like a legit number to me as well.
Yeah. And here's the truth about it too. I've not been shooting my traditional bow. I mean, I haven't shot it much in the last 2 months. Some guys are shooting their bows all the time, and I just don't do that. I pick up my bow for portions of the year.
Right.
And there's some guys that shoot their trad bows all throughout the year, not going more than a couple of days without shooting it. And I've just never done that. Usually I'm picking the bow up, 60 days before a hunt and shooting a lot. And I found that I can be pretty accurate for big game out to 15, 18 yards by doing that.
Yeah,
And,
just get back acclimated to doing it.
Right, and haven't had any trouble killing game that way. But this one kind of snuck up on me, and going to go shoot pheasants. So I don't know how to break this to everybody, but today, this originally started out as a 2-day trip as well.
Right.
This was going to be a 2-day hunt. Well, we trimmed her down to where it was just a 1-day hunt. So we drove 6 hours, got here late last night, hunted all day, and we're back on the road tonight.
Well, there's forecasted for some pretty rough weather coming in. It didn't really,
there's going to be snow and
conducive
stuff
to rain and snow, which really isn't conducive to good filming weather. So we thought, if we can get on the birds, in one day, we'll knock it out today.
Yeah. Let me first start by talking about the gear that I was using. I was using a Timber Ghost traditional bow G3 SS, which is the super static. The SS stands for super static. The G3 stands for Generation 3. So it was Kent Roberts' third generation of this style of 3-piece takedown bows. The super static, Brent, means that those super radical limb tips.
Oh, yeah. Which
give it extreme performance. Like that bow is one of the fastest bows on the market, on the traditional market. So I was shooting a Timber Ghost G3 SS at 52 pounds at 28 inches, and I probably draw at 27. And snap shooting pheasant, I was probably drawing at 24 to 26 inches.
Yeah.
And I had a dozen flu arrows built with 5-inch fletchings, helical, 4-fletched flus. I had a dozen made because I figured that I was going to lose some arrows.
Well, I remember us talking about it too, in one of the conversations after we decided, we're going. That was my question. I'm like, arrows. I mean, I'm an archer, but I'm not a traditional archer. I shoot a compound bow, which actually is only 8 pounds more than what your trad bow is.
Right.
But we got to talking about arrows, and I was like, dude, what kind of broadheads are you going to use? Flu arrows, and are we going to be able to pack enough arrows in the vehicle that we go up there for you?
Did you envision arrows just like stacked to the ceiling in this thing?
I envisioned them to be scattered all over Kansas is what I envisioned them to be.
And after a day of shooting, we did not lose a single arrow.
Not one arrow. The guide was absolutely impressed with that.
We didn't lose a single arrow.
Says, man, he said, we did not lose a single arrow today.
That's pretty. I was impressed with that.
Yeah, me too.
So what I did, I had these flu arrows built, and for those who wouldn't know what a flu is, a flu is a arrow with about a 3-inch fletching that like 3 inches from the shaft to the tip of the fletching, 5 inches long, and so they make basically these big wind vanes that slow the arrow down. So the arrow comes out of the bow hot, comes out fast, but then the feathers slow the arrow down.
Isn't there 4 vanes on it too instead of 3, or is it just 3?
4 feathers. They're not vanes.
Well,
vanes is
well,
plastic.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And they I'm testing them, getting this worked out here. There we go. So there are 4 of them, but I was shooting those guillotine turkey heads, which ended up being our demise. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that was a mistake. So they're these 3-bladed heads that have straight razor blades that are about 2.5 to 3 inches long, and they're 3 blades, and they just have kind of almost like a field point center with 3 blades that stick off at 90-degree angles to the shaft of the arrow. Is that a good description?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And my theory was that it would be a big area. It's about, the broadhead ultimately is about the circumference of a baseball. And so as opposed to just like a single blade or a regular blade broadhead that would have like an inch cutting diameter, Like this would be about the size of a baseball.
Right.
And I thought, well, if I clip a wing or if I hit a bird somewhere, it's gonna take him down, and the dog's gonna be able to get the bird.
Right.
Well, that ended up being a mistake using those, and we would find out later in the day. But to make a long story short, I got 35. I shot 35 times today at pheasants.
On camera.
On camera, 35 shots. The outfitter we were with, good guys up here in Kansas. We were hunting with a guy that was using German short-hair pointers.
Awesome dogs, man. I love anything. Anytime that you're hunting or I'm hunting, if there's a dog involved in it, a good dog, a trained dog, it enhances the experience so much, and it just brings an extra something to the hunt that it's just hard to describe, especially if you're a dog lover, if you like dogs, if you like hunting dogs that are bred to do a job, and when they get out there and you get to experience it with them and watch them do it, and if you know a little bit about dogs, even just a little bit, it'll impress you how they utilize them and how a dog's you can see a desire that they love what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
Yeah, so he had 4 German short hairs that he rotated throughout the day, and basically we were hunting these big CRP fields, which would just look like hay meadows.
Right.
That would vary in grass height from like grass maybe just above your knee to grass almost up to your chest.
Yeah.
At different times.
Yeah.
And these big CRP fields, this part of Kansas, just super flat. And there would be roads cut through the CRP where they were driving up and down the roads, just farmers and whatnot. But they also had strips of milo. They had strips of milo that were put there to feed pheasants. And so there might be 250 yards of CRP and there'd be a strip of milo.
Yeah.
250 yards of CRP and a strip of milo.
Yeah, like what were those things? 20 yards wide, maybe?
20 yards wide. That's right. And so we were just hunting these little milo strips. And what was amazing to me is that you would see these pheasants out in the milo.
Yeah.
It was almost like a spot and stalk pheasant hunt.
Yeah, it really was.
And these were wild birds. They were wild birds, but a lot of them, some of them were incubated birds, which I didn't know anything about.
No, that was a new one on me. They called them surrogated birds.
Right.
And they explained, the way the guide explained it is they put this, I guess it's a brooder, but it's a box. It was probably 5 foot wide. Maybe the size, about 5 foot wide, probably
8 foot long.
Yeah, 8 foot long and maybe 10 inches deep.
Right.
They had a heater in it and water and food in there. And they put those chicks in there, those pheasant chicks in there when they are 1 day old. And they take these things, they take them out in springtime that coincides with
the same time of the natural hatch.
Yeah, the natural hatch. So, and predators can't get to them, and there's no human interaction with them whatsoever. That everything's automated. And after 5 or 6 weeks, depending on the weather, he said that at 5 weeks they would turn them loose if there wasn't a lot of water on the ground, if it wasn't really wet. If it was, they would wait a week later and then turn them loose and put them out. And they're just, from then on, it's, you're on your own, pal.
Right. And so they in different parts of Kansas, they use these surrogate birds, I guess, to supplement the natural breeding populations of birds.
Right.
And but these birds are raised wild. They've never been handled by people. They were wild birds.
They were plenty wild.
It was a little bit different than what I thought. And I think we had kind of an unnatural amount of birds, if I'm being honest about it, which, more power to them. It's a lot of, we had a lot of opportunity today. And, but did I already say how many times I shot?
Nope.
Are you sure I didn't?
It's worth saying again.
I shot, well, hold on. Maybe I hadn't said it yet. I've said it so many times, I can't remember if I said it on the podcast or not. So we were talking about German short-haired pointers.
Yep.
We were talking about CRP fields and this Milo.
Right.
And basically we were the wind was blowing from the same direction most of the day. And so we would approach these fields on the downwind side and let the birds work into the wind. And
dogs work into the wind.
The dogs work into the wind.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
And so for those of you who might not have upland bird hunted before, these are pointing dogs. So these dogs are smelling birds, they're pointing, and they're literally with their noses and their eyes pointing to where the bird is holed up, and then you walk in and flush the bird.
Right.
You scare the bird, and he erupts from wherever he's hiding. And that is wing shooting, when you're shooting that bird when he's off the ground.
Yeah.
And in an ideal situation, you get just this beautiful point. You have time to walk to the bird. You flush the bird gets up, and you shoot. But these birds were pretty darn wild.
Yeah, and pressured too.
And pressured. And so I don't know if we could put a percentage on it, but I would say that I bet 40%, maybe 35% of the birds that we even shot at were not a classic point and flush situation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like maybe the dog would be working the bird, and by working the bird, it would mean that the dog would smell the bird. We would know there must be a bird close by watching the tail, by watching the body posture of this bird dog. And we're like, okay, there's a bird in here somewhere. The ideal scenario would be he'd lock up and be like, bam, there's the bird. But maybe the bird would get up 10 yards from the dog or 15 yards from the dog and fly off. And sometimes we would get a shot at that bird, and sometimes we wouldn't, because when the bird gets up from an unknown location, that's when you're at a massive disadvantage, especially with a bow or with a shotgun. Okay. Now, I would say, if I'm just guessing, I would say 60% of the time it was a classic point. When the dog is just rock solid on point, we go in and flush the bird, and we pretty much know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay, I was coming into this hunt with no knowledge of pheasants or how they fly. I mean, I was on YouTube the other day looking for how pheasants fly. And I'll tell you what I learned today is that when a pheasant is in pretty deep, thick cover, like chest-high grass, he's got to get some vertical jump before he starts to really rock and roll with his wings to get that movement away. And so the ideal situation for us was to get a bird in real thick stuff so that he had to come up out of it. Because when he's coming up out of it, going straight vertical, he's not going real fast.
Yeah, and there's also, there's a moment, like shooting a springing teal on a sporting clay range. Springing teal is the clay that goes straight up off the ground, goes straight up in the air, and there's a moment in there. The best time to shoot that thing was when it hits the apex of its flight and stops. And that's when you shoot it. And there, when that bird comes up out of there, there's almost a moment where before he transitioned from vertical flight to smoking it out of the area going downwind, that he's got that little hesitation, and that was what we were looking for to be able to shoot it with the bow.
Right. When you would spook one out of thin cover, I felt like that they would just shoot out of there like a rocket at a more steep angle as opposed to a more vertical angle.
Yeah, it was almost like they were coming up and going downwind already as soon as you saw them.
They were just gone,
Yeah.
and they might not get more than 5 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Also, the wind was blowing heavily today. How fast do you think the wind was blowing?
It's 15 to 20 miles an hour is what it was forecasted. And
That's right.
I would say it was every bit of it.
So 15 to 20 mile per hour winds. And what these birds do is they get up and they fly with the wind.
Yeah.
So once they hit that wind current, bam, they're gone. So I didn't have much experience with pheasants, or zero experience with pheasants. I do have experience shooting quail with shotguns and shooting skeet with shotguns.
Right.
So that would have been my experience. I did a little bit of practicing. I had my son go out in the yard with me, and with these flu arrows, we were shooting at kind of like coffee cans that we were throwing up in the air, and had some success with that.
Do you think that helped you?
I don't think it did. I really don't. I mean, I don't know that it did. But I don't know. It wasn't really that realistic. It just kind of got you thinking about shooting a moving target.
Right.
I think that's probably the only thing that did. I can tell you, the best way to practice for a hunt like this is just to go. Now, if I was going back out tomorrow to do this again, I think I probably would be better. I just don't know how I wouldn't be. You also might just get lucky quicker, and then you would think you were better.
Well, I mean, muscle memory. It's just like shooting that trad bow now. You work at it and you work at it and you work at it until you get proficient with it. So it may not have been tomorrow. It may have been next week. But you kept doing it, you would have figured it out. And the misses that you had and you could be able to see it on the video. Some of them were not. I mean, it was the difference in
the way the broadhead was turning.
Exactly. I mean, it was. There was
like
2 or 3 of them. It was like I don't
sticking up, or whether the prong was to the right or to the left.
Yeah, I don't know how that didn't hit him.
Yeah.
So I mean, they were close, and you're talking about a very minuscule amount of a deviation on arrow flight or the bird's flight or the wind blowing to be able to change all that.
Well, I don't know if I've said it yet, but I shot 35 times at pheasants today. 35 shots at pheasants. And I straight up hit only one of them in the air.
Dead, solid, perfect shot.
1 out of 30. Now that statement's not entirely true because I did hit 2 that were on the ground. I cut feathers off one. Throughout the day, when you're wing shooting, you don't shoot a bird on the ground. But as we got further throughout the day, a few times, I was just like, okay, we're just meat hunting here.
Yeah, let's get something for the skillet.
And we had a pheasant in some of this milo that we could see standing up out there at about maybe 18 yards, just looking at us, and the dog was at point. And I just was like, hey, I'm just going to try to skillet shoot this thing. And I missed a couple on the ground, but one I just straight up hit right in the tail feathers.
Yeah.
And it didn't kill him. Cut his tail feathers off.
Yeah, I'm going to make some trout flies out of that.
Well, yeah.
So I appreciate him donating that to the cause.
Yeah, we probably could have just ordered them online for a little less drama than what we went through to do this. But so 35 shots, and late in the day, was it like shot number 32 or 31?
That you hit it?
Yeah.
It was, I think so. That's pretty close.
Well, shot number 31, let's say, bird gets up right in front of us, goes to my left in a heavy crosswind, and draw, and you're just drawing and snap shooting, trying to have pressure on the back of on the string when the bird's about to get up, you think. And I shot, and I mean, had to lead the bird because he was going, perpendicular to me almost.
Yeah.
And just thud, just nailed the bird in the air. And man, I'll be darned if that sucker didn't just fly off. It didn't take him out of the air. I mean, it just hit him. We saw a little bit of a puff of feathers.
Yeah.
And then we watched him sail about another 100 yards. And he did a little dipsy-do before he landed, which made us think that we were going to get him, actually.
Yeah.
And we went in there with the dog to try to find him, and we never recovered the bird. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it killed the bird.
I don't think so either because, we had the dog right there, and we saw where he went down, and I don't think he killed him.
Yeah. Well,
And that's when we learned about the broadheads was
right.
at that.
We basically had two times that the broadheads just bounced off the animal.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you pull out the text message thread that behind my back that you were writing to a few.
So I had a group text message with my oldest nephew and my older brother, and I give them a rundown. I sent them a text this morning at like 7:30, and I said, "Hey, we're filming a pheasant hunt in Kansas today at Upland Inn Hunts." Sent them a link to the website so they could check it out. And I said, Clay's going to be using his primitive bow. I'm sure we're going to be having bologna for supper tonight. So they got a little charge out of that. They both
You kind of
laughed.
walked them into this.
Yeah, they give the complimentary ha-ha, LOL. So about 3:03, I sent them a text. We're 0 for 19 so far. My oldest nephew's response was, "Dad, gum." My oldest brother says, "Well, you're no more surprised than I am. Somebody needs to be backing that guy up with a shotgun. At least y'all can get something to eat." 7 minutes later, it's 3:10, and we're 0 for 21. So, that was something to be said that we ain't talked about. The action was steady.
Steady.
We were getting on.
shooting,
We were
buddy.
covering ground. We were getting on birds, and the opportunities were there. So we got, after I said 0 for 21, my oldest nephew says, we may be looking at a new record. And my response to that was, he's raising or lowering the bar with every shot. So I guess it's, how you want to interpret that. So, and then the text of the day was the response that said, from my nephew, that says, "I guess it could be both. The man is setting new heights of suckage. You just do you, Clay." And so
And then he went on to say,
oh my gosh, they talked about, said, well, looks like you guys are going to be eating at the Sonic. When I sent the text for 0 for 32, Matthew come back and said, maybe Clay should try shooting at some sitting hens. He might be able to get a couple of those.
"Oh man, these guys."
Anyway, they were really thrilled that we were up here doing this and thought it was way cool. And they also thought you guys will not kill any pheasants.
And they were right.
And they were right.
They were right.
They were right this time.
Well, so we. I feel good though because I said that if we came up here today and I killed one pheasant. Now I did say if I killed one pheasant,
Right.
that the trip would be a success, and I shot one pheasant good enough to kill it.
Yep.
And actually two if we count the one on the ground.
Yep.
That we shot
right.
two good enough to kill, but we didn't kill him. The arrow just bounced off of him. But
Cool.
I think the moral of the story inside of this is wing shooting birds is super fun, and don't be afraid to just try something different. Like we certainly could have brought shotguns up here, and we could have both limited it out by noon.
Oh gosh, yeah. By noon, we had been on 15 or so, I would think.
Yeah,
we took a little break and ate lunch. And
the limit in Kansas for pheasants is 4 pheasants per licensed hunter per day. And anyway, man, it was a super fun hunt. I think we're going to make a video. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go down, but you'll probably be able to see me missing 33 out of 35 times.
Wing shooting is not easy with a shotgun.
Yeah.
It is really not easy shooting a bow.
Yeah.
I want to do it again. It can be done. I know it can be done. We need to change up our broadhead, and we got to come up with some type of drill. So I don't know if it's going to be me hitting softballs with a bat and you shooting at them, or what. But it's going to take it's going to take some practice.
Yeah. Well, I think it would also help to do it in multiple days.
Sure,
like if we
would.
were going back out tomorrow after 35 shots today, I feel like I would just be a little more in tune with what was about to happen.
Yeah.
Because about the first 15 shots, I learned all the moves that pheasant have. Okay. I mean, like if a pheasant getting up could be categorized, I bet there's 15 different ways that they can do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they come straight up. Sometimes they go with the wind and stay low. Pheasant can fly probably quarter mile, or they might just fly 50, 60, 70 yards and light.
And sit down,
You can go after them again. So,
we did that several times.
Yeah, a lot of birds we got more than one shot at because we would watch where they went and go get them. And so, the first 15 shots, I was just learning what pheasants do. And then after that, I was I kind of knew what was probably going to happen, but you just, there were a couple of times when I was just out of position when I had a real good opportunity. The very first shot that I shot at today, I actually cut feathers.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most ideal pheasant movement of the day. It was a
that
bird
was a
in
classic.
thick cover that came straight up and just kind of hovered there for a minute almost. And I was able to shoot, and I mean, it just, it looked like it just was going to torch him.
Probably 5 or 6 yards away when he came up.
Yeah, and cut feathers off the bird.
Yeah,
and so there were a lot of shots that just looked good, but super fun. And I think we wanted to talk about like some of the benefits of small game hunting, but I'm a big game hunter at heart. Big time. But if you can branch out, do some social hunting, you've heard me talk about it so many times, but there's so many benefits to small game hunting, not of which the least is the social aspects of it. I mean, if we were deer hunting today or bear hunting today, we probably would have all been off by ourselves and coming back to camp to talk about what happened. But, we were together all day with our guide, Arden, and just had a good time.
Yeah.
We probably walked there. Brent was guessing closer to 10 miles. I was guessing closer to 7 to 8 miles that we walked. I mean, we walked a lot today.
We did.
Truly walked a lot.
But the ground, the ground's it's just flat ground.
Right.
It's pretty easy walking. No issues there. It was and the guides. Arden, he would put us out, put us in one direction, taking the dogs. We'd take the dogs. We'd go into the wind with the dogs, and he may come around on the other side a quarter of a mile away and pick us up, and then we would, go to a different area or whatever. So there was a lot of movement. We traveled a lot of different fields that we looked at. So they've got they got a lot of places to hunt up there and a lot of birds. So it was something all the time. There was no downtime.
No downtime. We didn't even break for lunch.
No.
We knew we had one day to get it done. If we'd had a couple of days, we probably would have taken it a little bit more easy. But when when it came lunchtime, we could have broke and gone back and had lunch in town or something. And I just said, hey, let's just keep hunting. Let's just eat some snacks and just keep hunting. But anyway, small game hunting is fun, super fun. Great time of year to do it, whether you're squirrel hunting or pheasant hunting. And these hunts aren't cheap, but at the same time, they're not expensive. Like if a guy was going to plan for this, a lot of these places are around $400 a day for hunting and having a place to stay and having meals and whatnot.
Yeah, the facilities were very nice. The food was awesome.
Yeah. And if you think about even going on a vacation, let's just say you were going to go on a 3-day vacation, you're going to stay in a decent hotel. You're going to spend $100 to $150 on a decent hotel wherever you're going to stay. And anyway, I mean, that's a lot of money to me. But at the same time, that's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's affordable. And this was an outfitted hunt for sure. And now there's places where you can hunt, do-it-yourself hunting if you've got dogs, but not out here. And I can tell you, you probably wouldn't have. I doubt there's many places where you could get as much action as we did in a short amount of time. But it was a fun hunt.
Absolutely.
Fun hunt.
Well worth the trip. Well worth the 6 hours. My only complaint is this gas station coffee that was strained through an old tennis shoe that we stopped about 10 minutes ago or an hour ago and got.
And the guy that looked like he'd combed his hair with a pork chop.
Yeah, yeah, that guy. Don't be him.
Don't be. Hey, this is just going to be a short podcast. Wanted to talk to you about our pheasant hunt in Kansas. You can check out this video at Bear Hunting Magazine YouTube channel. And Brent, any closing thoughts?
Let's see. If we're keeping score, you were 1 for 35 and I was 35 for 35. But I was shooting mine with the camera.
That makes me feel real good, man. Makes me feel real warm and cozy inside.
That's all I got, bro. It's a good time. Always a good time with you, and I enjoy it.
Well, thanks for going, man. So, all right, we'll keep the wild places wild because that's where the pheasants live.
Forever.
Pheasants forever.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.